A long time ago, technically the 1970s, in a galaxy far, far away, okay, in California, an aspiring filmmaker named George Lucas created a dozen or so protagonists and antagonists for his sci-fi space opera. Nearly 50 years, countless films, TV shows, video games, novels, action figures, and comic books, and literally billions of dollars later, it's safe to say that his Star Wars creations changed the landscape of pop culture in ways no one, not even wise Jedi Masters, could have predicted. And now, the great pop culture debate wants to determine, who is the best Star Wars character ever? Much like Cassian Andor, I also like to make 10 men feel like 100. I'm your host, Eric Resniak, and please help me welcome my panel, a real pew-pew platter of talent. She looks strong enough to pull the ears off a Gundark. It's Kara Austin.
Fresh out of the Bacta tank and ready to rumble.
Oh, you nasty. Next up, it's Kate Rakulia. Kate, I love you.
I know.
Atta girl. And he's the most stuck-up, scruffy-looking nerf herder I know. It's Michael Schwartz.
Oh, Eric, that's one of the nicest things you've ever said to me.
Note I left out half-witted. So, before we get to the debate, how does this work? We made a poll of 100 or so of the most notable characters from the Star Wars universe. These could be from the films, the TV series, the video games, the comic books, didn't matter. If they were canon, they were game. More than 60 people took the poll, we tallied their votes, ranked the picks by popularity, and added them to a bracket. Now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? You can! Head to greatpopculturedebate.com and go to polls and brackets. There you'll find the downloadable listener brackets for this and every episode of our little show. Do your picks match up with ours? Do you have a bad feeling about this? Let us know by dropping a comment on this episode at our website or by yelling at us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And lastly, if you're curious about how we went from our top 32 down to our sixth 16, become a Patreon supporter of our podcast. Our Patreons at the $5 level or higher get exclusive access to the warm-ups / part ones for each episode, in which we work our way through all of the round one matchups. It's like a whole bonus episode for each topic and it includes arguments you will not hear anywhere else. And it's only one of our great Patreon perks, so please consider supporting us on Patreon today. With that out of the way, let's engage the hyperdrive and get straight to the debates. First up, it's ultimate number 1 seed Chewbacca up against 4 seed Ahsoka Tano. The panel is evenly split here. Kate, explain why Anakin's former Padawan deserves a shot at redemption, while Michael tells us why we should let the Wookiee win. And I'm going to have Kate go first.
All right, so this one is actually a funny argument. I literally had to call my friend Jason to be like, I know she's cool, but like, what's her deal? So I have not seen her in anything. I haven't watched all of The Mandalorian yet. She has her own show that's coming out. She's a character whose time has come, though. She is a fully developed female character in the Star Wars universe, perhaps the most fully developed, who has the longest history of any character without actually being in any of the movies. She was Anakin's Padawan when he was a Jedi Knight. Before everything went to shit with the Jedi Knights, my understanding is that she was like, y'all are bullshit, and like pulled out. So she's been kind of doing stuff behind the scenes this whole time. As Jason said, quote, she did a number of things that probably saved the galaxy a couple of times without any credit at all, which proves that in a galaxy far, far away, the patriarchy is alive and kicking. And I feel like she is going to be one of the characters who really takes it down. That's my argument for her. She seems cool.
Yeah, and if you have not yet, I strongly encourage you to watch the Clone Wars series on Disney Plus. Yes. It's all on there. I will say this, it starts with a movie, and the first season is rough. They kind of can't figure out tonally if it's for kids or what, but as that show goes on, it's amazing. And the character, Ahsoka is the main character in it. I mean, her and Yoda, Michael, and Kara, would you say that's fair? Yoda and Ahsoka are kind of the two protagonists?
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely.
And she really, I mean, what an arc for this character. Her departure from the Jedi is really well done. And yeah, your friend Jason, hi Jason, he was a supporter of the podcast.
Yes. Yep.
Her departure from the Jedi is super interesting, and what she has done since then is really kind of like Oracle in the DC universe. Like, she is literally the one who is holding shit together while everything is blowing up. So,
like, just a huge figure behind the rebellion, pivotal, who like is way ahead of the curve that the Jedi are up their own ass.
Yeah,
and like Yep.
It's true. She's great. So if you have not watched that, she also appears. She's in Rebels, and I believe she may be coming into Bad Batch now too. But all right,
played by Rosario Dawson.
correct. In
Love
Mando,
her.
Rosario
she's
Dawson.
amazing. So with that said, Michael, what about Chewbacca? Tell me.
I'm gonna see if I can do this right. That was horrible, but I've been practicing all afternoon. That's the best you're gonna get. So again, I think we come back to the fact of like how integral Chewie is as a character, and for a character like literally that does not speak a word during the entire thing. It is guttural sounds during the entire thing. The amount of character development that we get out, that we find out about him. You know, the Wookiees are actually also one of the, and I to count it before, I may be wrong on this, one of the 3 races that are non-human that we actually learn more about in this entire universe for us. You get your Ewoks, we know a little bit about them, and then the Gungans as well. You know, those are, we know a little bit about their societies from the movies as well. But the Wookiees are like such a core race to the Rebels as a whole, and the chemistry that Chewie brings, not just with Han, but with every other character that he interacts with during any of the films that he is in. You know, we all look to Chewie as kind of the stabilizing force as well amongst the characters. You know, he remains calm, he interacts with everybody, he is so critical, and it's not just his relationship with Han, but his relationship with everybody that he interacts with in this universe.
He kind of is the heart of the team in a lot of ways. Yeah. Kara, where are you on this one?
I'm still with Chewbacca, and part of it is just nostalgia. Like, that's, you know, one of the original team. Like, he's been there from the start. And I liked what Michael said too about him kind of, he's unflappable, but then in those moments where he, like when they are on Bespin and they're captured, he's coming back from being interrogated and tortured, and he's like, you know, whimpering about it, you're like, oh, this must be really bad then.
Yeah.
Because the one who's kind of like the one holding it together, the one who's going to always, you know, make sure that everybody gets out and take care of everybody, like, he's hurt. And he's, you know, that's one of those moments of like hopelessness before we, you know, get to the end and you have a bit more hope again.
The way he hugs Han after he comes out of the carbon freeze is just feelings.
I don't remember where I saw it. It was somewhere online recently, and they were like, people think that in that relationship, you know, like Han, like Chewie's Han's pet, and someone's like, I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Did you know this?
No.
When they go-
Chewie is such a caretaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when Obi-Wan meets with him in the cantina, like to figure out a place to go, he talks to Chewie first.
Yeah.
Like, so like, I got a plane, and someone's like, I imagine that conversation on Chewbacca's end, like, well, I have to introduce you to my pet Han. He's not really good with strangers, so you're gonna have to go easy.
Don't embarrass me in front of my cat. Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
We all know like who's the adult and needs to make the decisions,
Yeah.
and it's Chewie.
It's true. So if I had to look at arcs, I think Ahsoka has the much more interesting and complicated arc. But I'm thinking to episode 9 when we think Chewie is killed. And I remember the actual gasp and horror I felt at the even thought of Chewbacca being dead. Like, I was actually shook by that moment. And you saw how, like, I mean, Rey lost it, and all of them did when Chewie died. And I think that is very powerful. And I can't take whereas like people think Ahsoka dies in the shows too, and I didn't have nearly as strong of a reaction to that. Does that mean that Chewie's a better character? It means he means more to me. And while I respect Ahsoka, and I think they've done such a good job developing her, and I think frankly we've only started to see it. I think that rumor has it she's kind of becoming the core of the Mandoverse over on Disney Plus now, which I think makes sense because Mando himself is not really much of a character, right? So I think we're going to see a lot more of Ahsoka, and I'm very curious. But at this moment in time, I think initially I had voted for Ahsoka, but even if I didn't, it doesn't matter because Chewbacca's a 1 seed and 2 of you are Team Chewbacca, so he has to advance.
And I know we're not counting the expanded universe. He has an epic death in the books in the expanded universe, and I cried for a good hour when I read it. Like,
I have heard about what happens there, and it's pretty epic. Yeah.
It's insane. Like it's I'm not gonna get into the whole arc because it's a whole like I wonder if the bad guys from that arc will come into the current canon universe. But yeah, it was very emotional.
And for you Wookiee fans, if you're not aware, Marvel Comics has started doing kind of the next chapter of Star Wars, which is the High Republic, and it includes a Wookiee Jedi. He is a main character in it, so FYI. And I'm assuming that will make it into TV and cartoons and movies in the very near future.
At some point, yes.
Yes. Next up, in a battle of Master versus Machine, it's 2-seed Luke Skywalker up against 3-seed C-3PO. Kara, explain why Luke should be the chosen one here, while Michael says Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto, and pushes 3PO. I'm going to have Michael go first.
I mean, we talk about a lot of this, and this is a hard one because for me, in the end, Luke is such a driving force behind all of the storyline in the original trilogy, and is a significant player in the sequel trilogy as well. But 3PO is in all 9 films, and he plays a role in all 9 films, and he is such a crux in a lot of places where the story comes to a climax, and you need that team of 3PO and R2-D2. I do not think that I am actually going to sway any of you guys from Team Luke, but I think that there's an underpinning that 3PO provides to the entire universe that just makes him so integral to everything that the story does and the advancement of key plot parts of the plot as we move forward.
Kara?
I mean, especially in the original trilogy where it's like the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. He is the hero in the journey. I mentioned this in the Patreon session, but he's our entry point for the Star Wars universe. He's and he's so I think as you get older, the more whiny he appears. But when you are like a teenager, that's all you want to do is get away from wherever you are at that moment. Your house, your small town, whatever. I was a kid who grew up in a small town. It's like I just need to get off this this dusty rock and to see what else is out there. And I think that's like a universalist theme for a lot of young people, teenagers. And so especially if you're getting into the universe at that time in your life and with that movie, he's just you relate to him. You relate to that passion, to that obsession with finding what your purpose is. And I mean, he pays the cost of it's like, and you get that chance, but maybe your aunt and uncle die in a fire. But you get that chance.
Maybe you kiss your sister.
Maybe you kiss your sister. You're gonna have a lot. There's it's the journey. You have to learn things before you come back a changed person. But he goes from being this. I mean, is there anything more boring than moisture farming?
True. It's true.
He leaves that and goes on this incredible adventure. He learns he has this special power inside of him. He has to figure out, who his parents were and become this great hero in the long run. And that gets a little tempered as we bring him back in other movies where he just kind of gets weird. He just... all I can think of right now is that moment where he's milking the seal cow thing.
Yes, literally what I was thinking too.
Not breaking eye contact with Rey and drinking it.
Exactly.
And
also almost murdering his nephew.
Murdering his nephew.
There's so much relatable content there.
It's such a different. I think it's just a difference in how storytelling versus the 70s versus now.
Yeah,
it's that's so. It's for the audience now and the way we consume media and how we expect it to be. We want, no one's content with just something kind of being at face value or a little I say a little reveal, but Darth Vader's his father. It's a simple reveal.
Yeah.
Now it's very complex, and it's but we also live in the time I'm thinking back to Lost, where it's fan theories and things everything's connected in weird ways, and I feel that's how we're writing movies now.
Mm-hmm. QAnon movies.
Yeah,
QAnon movies, but also trying to then, instead of it just being taking place in this fantasy galaxy, it's okay, well, how would someone actually process the mental load of being the only Jedi and being responsible for making sure the dark side doesn't come back again? Yeah. I know, I'll kill my nephew. That'll take care of it.
I have to say, like, it actually does make him a more compelling character. As much as I was like frustrated by Luke in 8, and I actually have no problem with the way he goes. I actually think it's so cool.
Love him in 8. Is my favorite kind of Luke Skywalker.
I think he's more Mark
Crusty.
Hamill in that movie than Luke Skywalker.
Absolutely. Yes,
and there's
I
something
agree.
about that too, like Mark Hamill's sort of willingness, and there's like a gleefulness in the meat he gets to play, right? Because Luke, as written, there's not a ton of meat. There's a lot of kind of excitement and things that he gets to do.
Human
but there's
puppy.
not. Yeah. He's like, I was gonna go to Tashi Station. What is
Pick up some power
pick up
converters.
some power converters, like, you know, and I think
You
you're right.
should
It's
see
the
me
difference.
shoot womp rats back.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
The difference between 70s storytelling and now, and also like just the innocence of the character. I'm definitely voting Luke, but yeah.
So, Michael, it is irrelevant if I vote for C-3PO because
True.
Luke is a 2 seed. I will say the arguments have actually swayed me to Luke because going into this, I was like, Luke is lame. Luke is a loser.
No, that's Anakin. That's
Real-
Anakin's the loser.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
both a loser and a
Anakin
Assad.
out-Luked Luke.
Exactly.
Yes,
Like,
he
the-
does.
like the least interesting character in the franchise. But like actually there were some very compelling arguments made. And I do think there's something really wonderfully tragic about Luke, who
Yeah.
is like set up as like, you're the special one that's gonna save everything. And then oops, you fucked it up again. Like
Yep, you're the Ben Kenobi who runs into the woods, like.
right. Like
Yep.
there's something about that that's actually really kind of interesting and
So, yeah.
and tragic. So I think that that's fine. And also when Queen Luke comes into Mando at the end of season 2 with that cape and is
God.
working it, that's pretty fierce.
I know that, like, so I guess at the time I didn't realize how controversial that was. Like, some people hated it. Like, one, I didn't think the deep fake whatever was that bad on him. Now that the other guy who deep fake stuff did it better, I'm like, okay, I see it. But that felt very special.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I thought it
I
was
just was like,
wonderful.
Yeah, I was so happy and emotional. Like, and I know I complain about the universe being very small at times, but that felt right.
Agreed.
If they were trying to
Yes.
find the remaining Jedi, that felt right.
Right. And in my opinion, people just need to learn to enjoy things. You said it earlier. Everyone's trying to figure out what's happening and with these complicated plots. Like, just stop, sit back, and let the storytellers do what they're doing and just try to enjoy things. Says the man who runs a podcast in which they sit there and pick apart every single possible element of a property and decide what part is the best.
But they're hot takes with low stakes. Hot takes with low stakes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a t-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Kate?
I can't close a window fast enough if I see something say fan theory. I'm like, done. I don't
Yep.
want to know.
Nope.
Exactly.
Nope.
Fan theory, go get laid. Okay, so
Yes.
speaking of Grogu, in a merchandising bonanza, we had 1 seed R2-D2 up against present-day plushie fave Grogu / the Child, a 4 seed. But the panel has unanimously decided to arm the astromech and advance R2 to round 3. Did anyone change their vote there, or are we keeping R2 in this?
Oh God, R2.
R2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
R2, but like Grogu's a close second.
Grogu is pretty phenomenal as a piece of cinema, filmmaking, puppetry. Just
Yep, and the
chef's
fact that
kiss.
it's practical, like
Yep.
I love that about it.
And it could have gone so wrong. It could have gone complete. It could have been
Yep.
saccharine and like annoying. Like if you're watching the Bad
Didn't.
Batch, they've kind of figured this out. But is anyone, by the way, is anyone on this watching Bad Batch?
I haven't started yet.
Not yet.
So it's getting better, but the first couple episodes, there's a kid character who's in the show, and like the first 4 episodes, you're like, oh look, this episode, it's how does Omega screw everything up and get endangered, and everyone has to go and rescue her, and it's really irritating. They're working that out now, but like that easily could have been Grogu too, and I've never felt that about that character. They've done a very good job taking him and making him compelling, interesting, and yes, he's a plot contrivance, but it really it works so well. I do question, like, how does that character make sense in the broader timeline of the sequels, right? Like, because Grogu's not there at any point in 7, 8, or 9, so I'm curious to see where that all goes. With that being said, next up, masks are so hot right now, and nobody knows that better than our next 2 combatants, 2 seed The Mandalorian / Din Djarin, and 3 seed Darth Vader. I will explain why Vader takes my breath away, while Kara jetpacks to the defense of Mando. Kara, you go first.
So this is, I mean, I already talked about how much I love the Mandalorian, how much I love Din and that character. I think it's maybe just also the novelty and the newness, because I'm so tired of Darth Vader in a way, because he's a toaster, he's a t-shirt, he's he's gotten, and
He's been done.
He's been done, and Anakin Skywalker really I do not like movies 2 and 3 a lot. And I think one of the reasons I really do not like them is because it took all of the, like, what made Darth Vader scary away. Like, it was just like, for me, you're not intimidating anymore. You're not as scary because you're just this whiny kid who killed a bunch of kids and now you're in a robot suit. No! Like, that part got so goofy, and it's hard for me to watch the other ones and have that, like, I can't reclaim that same, like, feeling of fear and, like, threat that he felt before.
That's
so
so
much
interesting.
So much of the threat and the fear is the mystery, right?
Yeah.
And when you take away the mystery and replace it with something uninteresting,
it's the Patton Oswalt thing. Like, I don't want to know where the things I like come from. I just like the things I like. Or he's like, or like, it'd be like, George Lucas, like, you want some ice cream? Well, here's some cream and some rock salts and some sugar. And you're like, no, I want ice cream, not this shit. Like, so
it's so interesting.
It's also been tinted by, like, you know, I found Kylo Ren more terrifying in that first movie. Like, when he loses his shit, when he messes up and he has the temper tantrum, that was terrifying, because I'm like, you're unpredictable. Vader's very predictable.
Yeah.
He has, like, 2 things he can do. He's going to force choke you from anywhere, or he's going to slowly lightsaber battle you. Like,
but Vader's like an adult, right? And that's so much what it is. And it also feels like such a missed opportunity, because, like, Anakin also is a young person, but is, like, the least, like, when I think of him, I think of, like, a flat line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think of him having a temper tantrum and, like...
No.
Yeah.
It's that whole, like, weird interpretation of Jedi in those movies where it's like, we just talk like this. And, you know, it's no emotion, no inflection. Like, and even when he's, you know, and now we're combining Darth Vader with the Anakin in this bracket, but hey, they're the same person. Like, even when he's supposed to be, like, you know, the whole sand conversation where he hates it, but he's, like, weird about, like, that is the worst piece of cinema. Like, I know snuff films exist, but that's the worst piece of cinema I've ever. Thinking about it, I'm getting so creeped out.
I mean, 3 is essentially a snuff film when you're looking at it.
Yeah, I'm just like, girl, get out of there. You can do so much better.
So much better.
So I don't want to muddy.
Ewan McGregor is standing right there
with a beer
right there.
So I don't want to muddy too much with Anakin.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Darth Vader coming in the final few minutes of 3 on. And
I know I've argued against Darth Vader than for the Mandalorian. But I think he's like, again, I think the character arc in the TV show is, for me, more compelling and more interesting than the entire the prequels and the original trilogy with Darth Vader. I mean, back in the 70s, it had to be a real reveal that he was Luke's dad unless you spoke German.
That is funny.
Like, with the Mandalorian, like, there's so many things that are being revealed about him, and again, it's like, what is he? You know, what things really motivate him? Is it the creed he's, you know, grown up in, and the fact that he was rescued from this other, you know, rescued by the Mandalorians, adopting their culture, and but then he, you know, now he's in charge, and he's like sees himself in this little kid who also needs to be saved, but is also more powerful than him in ways he doesn't understand. So how does he protect? But then this kid is in danger from everybody in the galaxy wanting to get it. So how does he, you know, deal with his childhood issues with this? You know, like, realizing he's been abandoned too, like this child has, but also there's so much growth. And again, it's difference in storytelling. We talked about that.
It is.
How we tell stories now is so much different than how we told stories in the 70s.
For sure.
I yield the floor. Sorry.
I would argue, I actually don't think the Mandalorian has a huge arc at this point. Yes, there's layers to him and they're being exposed, but it's like John Wayne in the Babysitter's Club. That's the Mandalorian, folks. And like, I'm not mad about that necessarily, but I think the actual arc for Vader is really interesting. I do want to go back because you were saying like you don't find Vader threatening anymore. It's all been ruined by the prequel trilogy.
For me, I don't want to say that for like.
No, and that's fine. That's totally personal, right? That's your take on it. I'm going to go back to when I was a kid. I'm going to start with that. And Michael, I'm assuming, well, you were what, 10 when the originals were coming out, around that age?
I was 7 when A New Hope came out.
Okay. The first time I saw Vader, I was terrified.
Yes.
I was like, I have nightmares about him. The physical image of him is so haunting, and just, it is, to me as a child, that is what evil and like terror looked like. The breathing, like everything about that character was dead on from a visual and audio perspective. And I don't think you can discount that for like in terms of characters, right? As an image, as an iconography, he's incredibly powerful. And I think The Mandalorian is basically just Boba Fett with all the paint taken off of it. That's if you're going to talk about images, right? But when you look at the actual character, he has, when he first introduced, he's just this death machine, right? And he's just like relentless in trying to kill. And yes, the lightsaber battles, like it's so bad to go back and watch the Obi-Wan Darth Vader lightsaber battle in episode 4. I was like, oh no. Like we had special editions.
Take a moment to appreciate the people who had to hand paint those cells.
Yes, right.
To get that effect.
But I was just like, holy Moses, this is like really, really sad now. But then like in part 2, and like you wonder, when did Lucas actually start seeing this? When like he starts realizing that his son's out there, and then later in part 3 he realizes that his daughter also survived. It's really the story of an absentee father who is trying to take out his misguided teenage daughter. It's kind of like a horror film, right? But truthfully, I do think there, and then his like reverse heel turn in the final moments where he has that moment of redemption. And if you do bring in the stuff from actual Anakin, here's a character of a kid who was told he was incredibly special, the gifted youngster, right? Who goes out into the world, realizes he's not that special, turns to whatever, porn, drugs, the dark side, whatever it is that you need to get your yayas out.
This is the whole fanboy thing again, though.
True. He makes terrible decisions, murders entire planets full of people, which, props on achievements. But then ultimately realizes, oh, I've been used by this guy who's been screwing me for decades, and then takes that fucker out. I do think that Vader is a great character. And in terms of threatening, go back and watch his like quote unquote reintroduction at the end of Rogue One. That scene is terrifying. That's like something out of Halloween when Michael Myers is coming after them. It's just like wall to wall death. And it's we're comparing Kylo's attacks in the 2010s, which are much more elaborate with all the kinds of special effects and fight choreography, to 45-year-old men in the 70s who are like batting each other with wiffle sticks.
Well, I think to bring in another property, I think Darth Vader for me that has the same thing as like when you look at old Doctor Who with the Daleks, where like my husband who watched them was terrified, and then I came in with that later. I was like, but they can't go upstairs, so all you really need to do is go upstairs. And so with Darth Vader, like in the original trilogy, he's like, you just gotta run real fast. He's just Frankensteining along, like he's not gonna get there.
That is true, but I think number one, I don't want to discount how terrifying he was when he was introduced, because he's been dead since 6. There's been no real returns, although he is a compelling force for Kylo. You would not have Kylo without Darth Vader,
without that smashed, beat up, burned helmet reveal.
Correct.
Yeah.
I also say they did a dirty when they replaced
the Force Ghosts.
The Force Ghosts.
Boo.
I don't mind it. But
I didn't know that when you die as a Jedi, you get to pick what point in your timeline you would like your profile picture to be in the afterlife.
Oh my god.
See also the new He-Man show, and I'm going to leave that at that. So, Michael, where are you on this one?
Darth Vader, 100%.
All right. And Kate, where are you?
I am also on Darth. Like, he's just like, you can't discount him iconographically from Star Wars or from American film. Like,
so I think
towering.
Kate, Carrie, you did an excellent job arguing.
And I would just like, Pedro, I defended you this whole time. So hit me up. Slide into my DM.
I don't think you're his type. I'm pretty sure he's going for people more like Michael and myself. Could be wrong about that, but that's just a
I
theory.
just want to cuddle.
Fair. Get yourself a Wicket. That's what you need.
I just want to cuddle and watch a movie together. And then I'm not a bad wife. So
There you go. The rest of round 2 is literally all unanimous decisions, folks. This is a first for this podcast, I think.
It's a blowout.
Right?
it's a testament to those characters.
It is.
I
It
like
is.
that. Yes.
When it's right, it's right.
It's right. It's right. Yoda, a 1 seed, said, "Stop it now" to Boba Fett. Han Solo, I had to get that in there. I'm sorry, folks. Han Solo, a 2 seed, once again beat out his old scoundrel pal Lando Calrissian, a 3 seed. Princess Leia, a 1 seed, proved that the classics can outlast the ingenues by advancing past Rey Skywalker, a 4 seed.
Can I say something about Rey?
Of course you can. I want you to.
I love Rey.
Yes.
Thank you for that insight.
Well, in the way that, and Patreon, if you want to hear my going on at some length about how I enjoy Force Awakens, subscribe to Patreon and listen to the podcast before this one. But I grew up with Star Wars. Like, I don't know a time without it. I really loved the movies as a kid, but it wasn't until I saw Force Awakens that I was like, is this what white men have felt the
Yes.
whole time?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know I was starving, and I am still just a cis het white lady. Like, I am not a paragon of great diversity myself. Like, but it was gobsmacking to see that character in a film that large, that huge. Like, it meant so much to me. And Force Awakens is great. I feel like that movie writes an incredible check that the new trilogy's new butt doesn't really cash.
No.
but it still
The
writes
wheels
that
come
check.
off.
Yeah, the wheels come up, but it still writes that check. And who's she up against? She's against Leia. She's never gonna beat Leia, but like in my heart, she does because of what she meant to me. Yeah.
She had her Mara Jade moment, and that's what most of the world had. They're like, "Oh, if I can see it, I can be it," and there I am.
Woo!
Yeah, nothing against Rey completely. If it was anybody else, I probably would advance her. I think she's a great protagonist. I think Daisy Ridley did an amazing job playing her.
Incredible.
Oh my God,
Yep,
yes.
she really did.
I personally, I know we're all like, oh my God, we're tired of Star Wars films. But I personally would love in 15, 20 years to see Rey be the
old Luke.
the old Luke, but not in a grizzled, angry. Like, how about like a hopeful way? Like, really, actually, like guiding the next generation. Like, I want to see that. I really do. Because
I want her in a Laura Dern kind of way.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
please.
Yes. So
I was very enthusiastic about that.
Absolutely.
You mean Admiral Holdo.
Mhm.
By the way, another character I loved and does not get enough credit. I thought she was great.
Agreed.
So yes, unfortunately.
So she shows up in one of the Leia books I'm reading.
Oh, does she?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that
She's
out.
kind of like a little bit of what's the one from Harry Potter, like a Luna Lovegood in a way. Like her character as a younger person is just like, she's a little weird. Like,
And we'll have to check that out. That sounds super interesting. But unfortunately, Rey is out. Leia continues. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, a 2 seed, needed no Jedi mind tricks to dispatch droid BB-8, a 3 seed. That is the end of round 2.
Whew.
We're going to take a quick...
That was brief.
It was brisk. We're going to take a lot of time from round 1, which went on a little bit at length. We're going to take a quick break.
but it's quality content that you should subscribe to the Patreon for.
Exactly. Thank you, ladies. We're going to head down to Tashi Station to get us some power converters, and we will be right back. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Eric.
So I heard, and this may be true, that you were actually the Great Pop Culture Debate's very first Patreon subscriber.
Was I?
You were. You're not only a panelist, you're also a founder.
Also a founder. I mean, it does give me a feeling of joy to contribute towards high quality podcasts like the Great Pop Culture Debate so that, I get swag.
Yeah. What kind of swag do you get?
You get a button. That's the one I signed up for. Is there a tote? I feel like there should be a tote.
There's not a tote yet, but that's a great idea. I have some other ideas that I'm working on.
You get access to things early. You get access to Patreon only little mini-sodes. You get to hear hear the warm-ups before, when everyone's just kind of getting their little sea legs before they get into the main attraction. And you get season 0.
You get season 0. It's exactly right. You will never hear the otherwise, folks. And there's some great episodes in that, which include Best Madonna Single, Best RuPaul's Drag Race Lip Sync, Best 90s Cartoon. And the only way you can hear those is by getting a Patreon sponsorship for as low as $2 a month. Then you even get season 0 just for that. So thank you very much, Kate. We appreciate all of our Patreon sponsors. And if you do have the interest, please go to patreon.com/Great Pop Culture Debate and support us.
This is Mike Rappin, host of the I Read Comic Books podcast. I want to invite you to join me and 2 of my regular panelists on our next episode as we give our comic book recommendations and give you our comic picks for the week. On each episode of IRCB, you can expect us to dig into the comic book reader experience as we tackle subjects like our favorite colorists, the importance of a good comic cover, what manga you should read next, why Batman is the best or worst dad in comics, our favorite character tropes, dollar bin shopping, the digital reading experience, and so much more. You can find episodes of I Read Comic Books every Wednesday at ircbpodcast.com, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. As we say on IRCB every week, we want you to remember, comics are good. And so are you.
Finish up that blue milk because we're back for round 3 of our best Star Wars character debate. Before we get to the Elite 8 matchups, I want to ask my panel, where can people follow you on social media so they can yell at you and not just at me? Kara, you go first.
You can yell at me on Twitter at CMYKARA. You can try to yell at me on Instagram, but that's a lot of pictures of my kid and my dog, and if you're a creep, I'm not going to let you follow me.
Atta girl.
Same address.
Kate, how about you?
You can yell at me, please, gently.
Unless you're Adam Driver.
Unless you're Adam Driver. You can yell at me all day long, gently, not gently. I don't even just slide into my DMs. They're always open for you. At Kate Reculia on Twitter. And on Instagram, Adam Driver, how do you feel about cat pics? I have a lot of cat pics at Gomez Rack.
Amazing. And Mr. Schwartz, where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram at THERAX329, Therax329 on Instagram, but I don't see anybody yelling at me because I'm just right.
Oh, there you go. And you can find me at Eric Resniak on Twitter and Instagram. That's ERICREZ as in zebra, S as in snake, N as in Nancy, YAK. Or you can just message at Great Pop Culture Debate on Insta. And we're at culture_debate on Twitter, which I will never stop talking about was such a terrible, terrible decision for a handle. But
you know
here
what?
we are.
Here we are. It's fine.
It was
S
the prequel.
as in snake or S as in Sidious?
Don't you give away all my secrets, madam. How am I supposed to stay a Sith Lord if everybody knows it? All right, with that being said, we're going to move right into round 3 before we have yet another trilogy to discuss. So our Elite 8, we have first up Chewbacca versus Luke Skywalker. I'm going to go around the horn. Michael, which one are you going with?
Oh, this one's really hard for me. I know we've talked about a lot of the arguments, but I'm going to go with my heart versus my head over this, and I'm going to stick Team Chewie at the end.
All right. Kate, how about you?
Oh, this is very hard for me because, like I said, I love crotchety, salty Luke in the new trilogy. Like, I feel like in many ways that really elevates him as a character for me. But like Chewie, Lennon and McCartney, Blanche and Baby Jane, Han and Chewie, like he's just such an iconic cinema figure. And I think, you know, something he doesn't get a lot of credit for, we don't think about necessarily. He's like he's a walking carpet. He's wearing the suit. We always understand exactly what he's saying, exactly how he's feeling. He's basically a silent movie character. And it's an incredible creation in a way that Luke is sort of an idea of an established myth. Chewie's kind of his own special thing. So I'm going to vote Chewie.
All right. Kara.
This is hard, and I don't like it.
I love hard things, so, you know.
Adam Driver. Sorry.
Boo. I don't love that one.
You know what? When you posed the question, I was like, I'm gonna go Team Luke. But listening to Michael and Kate, I gotta go with my heart. my furry, shaggy heart.
It's not you.
Kara, I forgive you for everything I said about you.
and that I'm going to say about you. Yeah, because he is such.
Yeah.
As much as I defended Luke, it's like Luke could be like anybody in that role. I don't, especially in the trilogy. But Chewbacca, I mean, yeah, he looks different completely than the human characters in the story. But he's, again, it is kind of like the Mandalorian thing. He's, it's a dude in this fuzzy, uncomfortable suit who makes you just fall in love with this character and care so much about him. And he's the one getting everyone out of a shitty situation. Like, he's the one punching the control panels on the Falcon and, or yelling at Han Solo for not fixing it right. Or for more time to fix it right. Yeah, so, I'm with Chewie.
It doesn't matter what I vote for. I personally think this is the wrong choice. Chewie is the ultimate number one. And so the people agree with you that Chewie should advance. I think in terms of characters and in terms of like arcs, Luke has unquestionably the more interesting arc. I think Chewie is the heart of the series, and there's something about that is incredibly special. But Kate, you were mentioning he's, Lennon McCartney and Baby Jane and Blanche, but Lennon is not here. It's just McCartney. Blanche is not here. It's just Baby Jane. And so do you move them forward without the other part of the pair? I mean, the other part of the pair is here, but they're going to be competing as a solo act too. And I think solo act.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what he had to do anyways.
But also when you
continue on.
Like Chewie is the heart, and when they decided to make the ill-fated Christmas story, it wasn't about Luke. The story was about Chewie.
Yes.
It was about so many things.
And his creepy father watching people.
Yes. We get that.
Diane Carroll. Exactly.
But the Wookiees were what it was about.
Yes, that is very true.
Come to the dark side, Eric.
It doesn't matter if I do or not. Like, Chewie's advancing. And I will say this, Chewbacca should get a vote, if only for, I'd like to throw us all back to, I don't remember when it was, prequels or sequel trilogy, where they had those masks, the Chewbacca masks, when you opened your mouth, it makes the Chewbacca. And that one woman absolutely losing her mind in the car. Let's go back and rewatch that. Like, Chewie should get a vote just for that woman.
Episode should be Star Wars merch.
It's true.
As someone who was like 17, super into it, and had stupid amount of disposable income and a Toys R Us, I owned ridiculous things that I bought anything they put out in front of me.
Yeah, and as someone who's recently been to Disney World and all the Star Wars merch there's some pretty incredible stuff. So Chewbacca will move forward. Luke Skywalker is out. Next up, it's R2-D2 versus Darth Vader. A battle for the ages, truly. I'm going to start with Michael here. Who are you coming down on?
Ooh, I'm going to stick with Darth Vader on this one because I think we need something of the dark side as we continue to move forward.
All right. And Kara?
This is hard in the way that it's like, what are we judging on? Who is like a more who's more fun to watch? Who is you talk about as a character or with an arc? Like Darth Vader has a more interesting arc than R2-D2. Though he doesn't. R2-D2 doesn't have an interesting one because he in just the trilogy alone has the battle plans, gets thrown into a brand new environment, has to find his way back to find a hermit in the middle of a desert, and go all that whole journey. So now maybe I'm talking myself out of Darth Vader. But yeah, he's I said he's a toaster, he's a lunchbox, he's a T-shirt.
So is R2. All of those.
So
things.
is R2.
Yes.
Yeah. But when it comes down to, and I talk about this in the Patreon thing, the 3-pack of VHS tapes I had of the trilogy, it's Darth Vader on the front of it.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I'm going to go with Darth Vader.
Kate?
All right, I'm going to be wild, and I'm going to go with R2, and I'm going to tell you why. I think iconographically, both R2 and Darth Vader, I think they're kind of on the exact same level in terms of when people say Star Wars character, do they think of Darth? Do they think of R2? What is the best Star Wars character? I kind of used this argument before when I was like, Luke is like a hero. It's a hero's journey. Like his character is not unique to Star Wars. Darth Vader's character is kind of not unique to Star Wars. And honestly, neither are R2 and 3PO, but they are sort of like in Rome, like the Lucius and Titus, the two like everymen who just kind of like bumble along in the course of like major historic events. That's what R2 is. And I think that part of the story is part of what makes Star Wars really unique and really special, that it has these very human characters that are part of the universe and make it more like there's multiple entry points. You can enter through Luke or you can enter through the droids, right?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I'm gonna go with R2. I'm gonna go with R2.
And now I'm swinging back too, because when we talk about like even the technology and like the that's one thing in these universes, because there's a whole bunch of stuff in science and technology now that's inspired by stuff from science fiction, but that's one area where they haven't gotten it right. Then, like, these are droids, but they are like fully realized beings. They have personalities. It goes beyond just like a stuffy. And it's like C-3PO is a bit stuffy, but like but he's not stuffy and infallible. Yeah, there's a personality to that, and you don't see that in a lot of other sci-fi adventure things. I
think the sort of like what they created in terms of a character through R2 is more impressive to me, with blips and bloops, essentially. Blips and bloops, entire vocabulary. When like the Jawas shoot him and he goes, "Oh!"
The screams alone are
when he screams, incredible. He's in the X-wing too, and it's like the bullet hits him and he's on fire.
And it's just like,
why would you program them to feel pain?
Why indeed? The central questions of Star Wars.
He's getting a sympathy vote for me. They can feel pain. He's a better character than Darth Vader.
Feel and express pain. But I mean, Vader is like an incomplete android. If he had been more of a droid, I don't know. I guess I'm like heading towards a thesis territory. I'm not going to get there today. But anyway, R2.
Yeah.
So I hear all of that. I think it needs to be R2 too. And I know I was just arguing that like Chewbacca is the heart, but Luke has the arc. It's the same argument, except I'm going with R2 here, who is not the heart, but he's almost like the child of the story. And frankly, he actually does have a really important role to play.
Yeah, like he does, absolutely.
He basically is the entire reason that the Death Star is blown up. I mean, he's we'll say this: he's an integral part to that, as well as like getting Obi-Wan into the entire arc, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And I just have like, from a pure nostalgia standpoint, as much as I was terrified by Darth Vader as a child, I absolutely was obsessed with R2-D2, and I like saw myself. And to this day, if you say what Star Wars character do you see yourself most in, it's fucking R2. I'm always there. I'm always screaming. And
somebody programmed you to feel pain.
Exactly. And I'm basically just a garbage tank on wheels. It's me. It's been me all along.
Feels so seen.
Right. I had a remote control.
Is that a port in the wall? Let me stick something in there.
Exactly. So that's true. He is me. I see myself in him. But
that's just because he's so shiny.
I wish. But so like when I was a kid, for one of my early birthdays, I got a remote control R2-D2, which I had for years. I lost the remote control, and then this is a story that's going to embarrass her. But when my niece was really little, she used to be scared of monsters in her closet, and I still had the R2-D2 unit. And I was like, "Oh, I have this monster fighting robot. I don't need it anymore. Do you want it?" And she literally had the R2-D2 on her night shelf, and R2-D2 used to keep the monsters away from her. So I'm sorry, Addison, you'll never listen to this, but that is the thing that happened.
But he would, if that was really the case.
He would totally fight monsters for any child. That's who R2-D2 is. He's truly the hero of the story to me. So I'm going for R2 there. Are you okay with that, Michael, if we advance R2?
Yeah, no, I love R2 as well. So moving R2 along is just as good for me.
Great. Next up, Yoda versus Han Solo. Kara, you first.
Why do you hurt us, Eric?
I only hurt the ones I love.
Me, Eric. I'm Han Solo all the time. I love a scoundrel with a heart of gold, and it's Han Solo is like a sexual awakening on the screen.
Yeah, and I mean Harrison Ford is so hot in this movie.
Absolutely. Even in the sequel trilogy.
He's not Indiana Jones hot, but he's up there.
He's still pretty smoking.
He's up there, and the scenes with him and Leia, I know for modern sensibilities it wouldn't play out as well. Like
it's a little not great, but
it's a little not great. But it's
I love you, I know.
I love you, I know, but yeah.
So good.
You know, I like nice men. I'm a nice man. I was like, yes, you are. And no, you're not, but yes, you are.
All right. One vote for
yeah,
Mr.
Han Solo.
Solo. Kate.
I gotta give it to Han Solo. Like, he is the thing that is missing from the prequel trilogy that makes them not good, right?
Yes.
It's like you miss that
Yeah.
entire like scoundrel
Yep.
archetype that's
it's
like
true.
the
Yeah.
chaos agent between good and evil. And without that, it's not a triangle, it's just a line.
Yep.
But it's
a
also
fair point.
with a world
Mhm.
like that, you need someone in it occasionally going, well, that sounds stupid.
Yes!
Like, you know?
Yes!
Which is what he does in the first movie.
There's
Really,
no,
you know.
what does he say? There's no religion. What does he say? I'm gonna.
There's no
embarrass
all.
Yeah,
Oh God,
something
all
religion.
knowing thing. So yeah,
ruining
faulty
my
religions is no
Yeah.
no comparison for a good blaster at your side. Or
Yeah. Yeah, you need someone.
There's
to
no
be
all
like,
all powerful force controlling me. I'll tell you that.
yes, yeah. You need someone who to kind of be like to puncture that's bullshit, so that then
Yeah,
they can accept it later, and you can be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes
And,
and
sense.
like he's another character with he has a really good character arc and character development.
hmm
Because he's
He
in it
does.
he's not even in it for he's in it for the money at the beginning, but it's not even the money to fight the Empire. It's just to go someplace.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's
then
to pay off Jabba, right?
Yeah, it's fair, but
Yeah.
he's not in it like, you know. And then they get him in for the money for helping out. He's like, you know, she's rich, you know, and how rich, and you know, so he's in the money that way. But then he comes back for Luke. You know, like he's someone who has had a difficult life and had to look out for himself. But then in this, you know, recognizing a great need and developing a friendship with these other characters, realizing he cares about them, does the right thing in the end.
yep, and he has a freaking boss tragic death that Harrison Ford really wanted.
Can I tell you, like, the saddest part of like going to things like Comic-Con was seeing how not into it Harrison Ford was
Yeah.
with anything Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, he just dripped off him. Like, he's just like, fuck it,
Fuck it.
get me out of here. You
Michael,
guys are
where...
all.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm pretty
No,
sure,
well-
like, getting ready for the prequels, he's like, I think you guys are all gonna like this movie. It's like, you asshole.
Michael, where are you on this?
Oh, I'm Han.
Okay.
100% Han.
We really didn't talk that much about regular sized Yoda. We talked a lot about baby Yoda, but I do think he's a great character and a marvel of puppetry, frankly.
Yes.
Frank
Um,
Oz.
Frank Oz, incredible performance. Also very good in Clone Wars. He's also
Mhm.
good. I mean, he's good in the prequel trilogies too.
Yeah.
He's one of
Except
the,
his lightsaber battle is goofy as hell, and I don't like it.
I don't
He looks
mind
like
it.
somebody threw a Super Ball in a small room. Like,
There's some like kids toy from the early 2000s that like Bakugan or something, where it's like these discs that spin around. That's Yoda and the lightsaber.
yeah.
But he is an integral part, and I think there is mystery. You said earlier that what hurt Vader was getting rid of the mystery. There's still a
Yeah.
ton of mystery for Yoda.
Oh yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
remarkable considering he's been around since the 70s. We still know very little about his
No.
background besides
And we only just knew, and now there's more of them.
Right,
Oh, I
yeah.
guess we did, because there was Yaddle on the on the prequel trilogy. You have Yaddle on the council as well, who's like a Lady Yoda.
yes,
Lady
Lady
Yoda.
Yoda.
And
Lady
do you guys want to hear a cute story about baby Kate
Yes.
Yes,
having to do with Yoda? Speaking of mystery, and like the way he comes into the trilogy, he's just this like breath of strange fresh air that just becomes absolutely iconic in Empire Strikes Back. But as a young person, when Yoda dies, it's a very gentle Jedi death. I remember I was, I don't know, 5, 6, turning to my mother and being like, well, why did he die? And she said old age, but instead I heard old eggs. I was like, oh, fuck, I better not eat any old eggs. But I guess if I die, I'll just peacefully disappear. Like,
And then come back as a pretty cool ghost.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You could do worse. Old eggs.
old eggs.
So we are advancing Han Solo. I'm sorry, Yoda. Next up, it's Princess Leia versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm going to start.
point of order. Point of order.
Oh.
General Leia Organa Solo.
Thank
she
you.
is a
very-
general.
Put some
She is-
She
respect
was
on
a
it.
general.
Put some respect on that name. All right. Organo Solo. Got it. Thank you very much. Next up, General Leia Organo Solo versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want to start with Michael.
Again, I'm the third time in a row that I'm up and going first. But
Oh, are you? Then never mind, Michael. I'm not starting with you. I'm starting with Kara.
This isn't hard, but I'm torn away because I think Obi-Wan was like my first favorite character in Star Wars. Because again, I watched it when I was like, really got into middle school, high school, and it's like I want a strange man from the desert to teach me skills, give me a laser sword, get me out of here. Like, I want this, this hermit to tell me I'm special. The people who I think are my parents aren't my parents, and I'm really supposed to be, a Jedi Knight. Who doesn't want that? And like so for my high school yearbook, my senior year, I did not like high school, and I wanted my yearbook quote to be, "You will never have seen a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." But my mom, who works at the high school, wouldn't let me do that. So it ended up being, who's more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? So
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like that basically what you were describing there was a peyote journey at Burning Man. That's what you were yearning for?
That's what I was yearning for. But like, he's in it, and he's certainly important. And, and when the prequels came out, I enjoy his character. Again, it's Ewan McGregor, who is a good actor in a terribly directed role.
Mm-hmm.
Just given a real cardboard performance there, bud. But really, when it comes to who's the best character, like, it's Leia all the way.
Yeah.
Leia goes, the best character, the most character development. We meet her, and in the, you're not even an hour in, and her planet's destroyed.
Yeah.
Just boom in front of her. There goes her mom, her dad, her neighbor. Everybody's gone. And she's also someone who, has the status of being a princess, but is also involved in the Senate, which would be like Prince William deciding to become a member of Parliament.
Right.
I love this so much. I want to do it for the people too, instead of just like living in this. But again, like her nerd glasses. Her parents were involved in the in the rebellion. Her dad especially. So it was always going to happen. But yeah, so she has she's trying to do to carry on, not knowing she has to carry on what her father started, but has to deal with that trauma and continue to fight for and support the rebellion, and going and then kissing her brother, and then meeting her the love of her life, and and still finding out that that she has a brother who her dad is, and keep going through. And she's the character who comes back the strongest, I think, in the sequels.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She is a general. She is dealing with a real weird part of her marriage. Like, they have been separated. They had a kid who I never quite understood why they named him Ben, because she never really met him. And neither did, Han Solo did, but like, they don't have a great relationship. He didn't like bond with Ben Kenobi, but okay. And the goofy flying scene in space aside, she has this gravitas, and part of it, especially then, is just Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
So we really haven't talked about that as much with the people who play them, but she just commands that role.
Right. I'm sorry. I was going to say, completely agree on Carrie, and it's really tragic that
breaks my heart,
because apparently 9 was supposed to be her movie, right? That was going to be like the big Leia movie.
She's the youngest of them.
I know. It's absolutely just so goddamn tragic. But agree completely. I do want to, in the interest of time.
I'm sorry. I will wax poetic about Leia all day long.
No, it's good. I love the passion of it. Kate, where are you on this one?
I am full Leia. Ben Kenobi, I feel like we haven't gotten all of his story yet. I'm curious to see where the TV series goes, but Leia we have, and it's fantastic. Tragically, we've gotten all of it, and it's fantastic.
Tragically, yes.
A powerful female character, and not in the like throwaway way. Like,
yes, yep.
And one of the first really strong female characters who didn't need anyone to rescue her in sci-fi. Mm-hmm. I just recently rewatched Flash Gordon, one of my favorite films, and like the Leia type character in that movie, she does have one scene where she fights back, but there's a lot of her needing other people to do it for her. Michael.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to vote for Leia just to set up the Han Leia head-to-head match for the
I
final.
know.
So it's Leia. So 100%.
And no disrespect to Obi-Wan. Also, if we strike him down, he will return more powerful than we can imagine.
Never
so
imagine.
there's he's got that going for us. We're going to go on to our final four. It's Chewbacca versus R2-D2, Han Solo versus General Leia Organa Solo. Thank you, Kara. We have nobody here that was exclusively from the prequels or the sequels. I feel like that's probably correct.
This feels right. This
It feels
feels
right.
right
This
to
feels
me.
good.
I'm going to start with Chewbacca versus R2-D2. Kate, go first.
R2.
Kara.
Go with your gut. Go with your gut. R2.
Michael.
Team Chewie.
I'm going with R2.
Ah!
So it's even though Chewie
I'll
is
get
the
it.
ultimate number one, R2 is going to the final two. And Han Solo versus General Leia Organa Solo. I'm going to start with Kara.
General. Here come the general.
Michael.
Leia, 100%.
Kate.
Han is fantastic, but it's got to be Leia.
Yes, I'm also going to echo everybody. It's got to be
Han
Leia's.
would still be an asshole without Leia.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
True.
100% on that. Yes.
Yep.
So
Not that women need to pick up men as projects,
No.
no.
but he
Don't do
would
that.
still be an asshole without Leia.
True that. So we have a final two of General Leia Organa Solo versus, I said that like I'm a robot, versus R2-D2.
No, you said it like you were acting in the prequels.
Fair point. This was not the final two I imagined, I'll tell you that much. So I'm going to start with Kara.
General Solo. Organa Solo. All the way.
Kate.
I think it's fitting to say that like the two people are like when you think of one of the first most powerful images of Star Wars, it's her leaning down to put the plans inside R2. It's their story.
It's where it really begins. It's true.
It's where it begins. Definitely Leia, and not a little bit because of the tremendous human being Carrie Fisher was.
Michael.
I am not looking for droids. It is 100% Leia.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to give it to Leia too. And Kara did a great job talking about. Does anybody else want to say anything more about Leia? Is there anything we didn't cover? I will just add, like, it broke my heart because you could see the seeds were all there
Yeah.
where she was really going to come into her own as kind of being the next shepherd of
Mhm.
where the Jedi were going. And I loved, even though it was kind of weird having her daughter play her in the flashbacks, like seeing Luke training her was
Yeah.
really cool to me.
Yep.
There was just, I think we just have to accept that that was the fate that she had. And even in that death, she still has a profound impact on the plot. It destroys me that that's the way it all ended.
Yeah.
But what an incredible character and how impactful for young women. And then to pass the torch on to Rey, where
Yeah.
it's like, yes, we had this amazing protagonist, female protagonist. Now we're taking even more ass kicking, but yet still clearly a feminine energy, very strong, but still very loving. I think it ultimately it's a torch passing moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
think-
it's oh, go ahead, Kara.
No, go ahead, Kate. I've talked a lot, so.
I feel like there's some part of me that once she died, and like I remember the day she died, and I remember where I was, and I was like, oh God, that also like that, and then Debbie died,
Yeah.
and like
Ugh.
which is just
Brutal.
but also like felt weirdly of a piece that like she just didn't want to be here any longer without Carrie. Anyway, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, for those who don't know, who's listening to this podcast who doesn't know that, but
And if you haven't seen the documentary about the two of them, it's amazing.
so knowing that happened, I was like, well, it's never going to be able to write that, cash that check that it wrote. It's never going to be able to do that. So, and even with my diminished expectations, like there's some things I like about the third movie, but a lot of it is just kind of a blur. But I even like her goofy flying through space.
Yeah,
'Cause, like
I don't mind it.
she was dead at that point, and it was some kind of weird, beautiful image.
It
It's just-
felt like that part of Superman, was it Superman 2, where Lois and it's Superman 1, where Lois is flying.
Yes, yeah.
That weird Margot Kidder scene, where I was like,
Yes.
this just doesn't. Maybe there's another way this could have happened visually where it would have worked, but this isn't working for me right now.
It worked for me, but I mean, as a character, kind of seeing as from a modern perspective, the way that her character still through Carrie's sort of like thumb in your eye energy, like even she's not written necessarily the way she plays her. She plays her with more strength and spunk, I think, than sometimes, especially in the third movie, the character is written. And to see her kind of come roaring back in this really complex character, and God, the press tour for the new sequels was like one of the most joyous things. Her and her dog just like not giving a fuck and loving every second of it. Gary
Fisher.
Like that was a real source of joy for me. So yeah, it's got to be Princess Leia for who she was, played by what the character was. You know, she wants what is in her obituary because of the metal bra that she wore in Return of the Jedi. She was strangled by her own bra, drowned in moonlight. Like, I tip my hat to you forever.
On screen and off.
Yes.
Just like a woman I look up to.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and it's just like, remember we talked about Darth Vader? I was like, he's not scary. And it's like, she has that energy. She's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like,
he's handcuffed with stormtroopers all around. And he's right in her face. And she's like, I should have known he was holding your leash. Like, holy shit. And she leads Tarkin to, you stink. Like, it just doesn't care.
Yep.
Take that, Dad.
Yeah.
So that being said,
He controls you and you smell bad and get me off this thing.
That being said, there you have it. Our pick for the Star Wars character is Princess Leia. Excuse me, General Leia Organa Solo.
Icon, queen.
Do you agree? Do you think we're looking for love in all the wrong places? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to say thank you to my panel. You are always my special additions. And thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope that you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinions.